Hello folks, it's Soul with some more Shadowlands coverage. And you know what? I've got some good news. A recent post from Blizzard announced that many abilities would be taken off of the global cooldown, notably abilities that were considered throughput cooldowns. This sets up a sort of epilogue to this beleaguered or outright failed attempt at making the popping of cooldowns more strategic and less button mashy. But on a brighter note, hooray! I wanted to do this as a separate video from the weekly and other such things because there's a lot of information to share. So as I speak, I'm going to display the tooltips of all the known abilities that are going to be affected by the change, from Death Knights to Warriors. You know what I mean? Cool? Cool. So this was more or less a multi-part screw-up, at least in my opinion. The first part was in the messaging. According to my spotty memory of what they said, cooldowns were supposed to feel meaningful, right? That brief moment when you stare the enemy in the eyes and then you pop wings, you stomp the ground, or you yell super loud. Ah! The problem there was that not all classes or specs were made equal. I can get into a lot of examples, but for many players it just didn't feel too good to press one button after another, and then have to strategize the order of which they would hit their cooldowns and trinkets and potions to maximize their buff time. It made that first buff that lasted 20 seconds actually last, I don't know, a little bit more than 10 seconds, and it makes you wonder okay, what's the point? Meanwhile, other classes weren't affected nearly as much, and that just made everything feel so much worse. I think the bigger screw-up, though, was their intention to make up for the globals by making these cooldowns do something apart from giving our characters that temporary buff. So take Avenging Wrath, for example. On live, this button uses a global, but not only does it buff my character, it also makes my next self-heal crit. I think this is a good example of where the global cooldown change worked, because Blizzard added something to this ability, and as a tank, it turned what was just an offensive cooldown, and then it doubled it into a defensive ability. Like, today I can be in the middle of some fight, right? And when I know I'm going to take incoming damage, I can hit my Avenging Wrath early and supercharge my heal, making it available for when I do take that big damage hit, and then boom, a nice, sexy heal to keep me up. Sweet. Class fantasy, yada yada yada. The issue though is that hardly any of the abilities put on the global were given the same treatment. A lot of these buttons still just gave you the buff and that's it. So when we step back and take a look at this whole endeavor, it feels like a flop. If Blizzard was making cookies, they'd have like 2 cookies and a burned out kitchen, you know what I mean? Theoretically, if Blizzard was super aggressive about the GCD change and from the start they had an answer for every ability changed to, have a nice little something added to it, we might have a very different conversation, or maybe we wouldn't be having this conversation at all. So anyway, let's get back to the good news. Like I said, many abilities were taken off of the global. They're listed in Blizzard's original post, and Wowhead has a page available where you can look at the few that weren't listed, in case I forgot some here too. Even some Covenant abilities, like one for Druids that I don't really like at least that's off the global cooldown, so hey. But there was a specific line that caught my attention when I first read this post. Along with taking abilities off of the global, the post says that they are, quote, rolling back changes that we made in an attempt to make the global cooldown feel worthwhile. An immediate concern came to mind then. Can you guess what it is? It's actually Avenging Wrath, the example where Blizzard did okay. Avenging Wrath is now off the GCD, but it also lost its secondary attribute, making my next self-heal or Holy Shock or whatever Ret does to be a guaranteed crit. It's gone. So I gotta say, I'm not too thrilled over that. My baseline signature ability was one of the very few that got the so-called good treatment, and I just got used to it. So this change feels like a loss. Like, what would I rather have? This ability be off the global, or have it give me what's basically a heal back to full life? You might want the former, I prefer the latter. Okay, actually, I'd prefer both, so as a bit of feedback, Blizzard, I think it wouldn't be the end of the world if tanks and heals were able to keep that extra effect. It's just healing, right? Overall, though, this is a great change that honestly never needed to happen in the first place. But there's still more work to be done, more abilities that need rescue, so I would love for you to share your concerns in a comment below. What other abilities should be taken off the global cooldown? Or what abilities would be okay if they were given some added effect? It would be great as always if you were to like this video and to subscribe for more of this and all things Warcraft. We'll see you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.